actually, as the players are gearing up on stage. And here, when I see these two teams, the fact that it took quite a bit of time for GIANTX to find their groove, Rogue still trying to find it, I would expect standard draft here and nothing too crazy.
When it comes to draft, I just hope they don't go back to their old roots, you know, where they were playing triple scaling lanes with nothing to work with, and Markoon, you know, just playing power farming and struggling early. I hope they stick to what they did yesterday with, you know, proactivity, ability to play through lanes, and Markoon, and priorities as well.
Yeah, I think on the side of GIANTX, I think it will be interesting to see because, as I said, they kind of have two lifelines, so to say. So I think in this first game, it will be interesting to see how aggressive they go in draft, if they want to meet this kind of style that Rogue showed yesterday, or if they will just kind of go for a comfort and just hope that they will outscale Rogue in kind of their own game. So that's kind of the angle I'm looking for.
We haven't mentioned it, but we were just looking at Peach right now, who had a phenomenal game yesterday, getting the player of the game, if I remember correctly. I think him versus Markoon, who wants to find space in the early game, is going to be a matchup to look forward to. But yeah, jungle has not been really... No, I don't want to say not interesting, but the picks are more often the same. So yeah, it's going to play on how they execute the jungle here. Issue with chair, it's fine. They can replace.
Surely.
And the draft will start shortly here. Jackie is also, as we see him, I don't think we've talked a lot about him and how he's slowly working towards consistency. That's the issue with rookies. They're going to give the best and the worst, but...
Definitely throughout these weeks, I think Jackie's has been, you know, a point, kind of a controversy. He does well sometimes, but sometimes he'll play against perks and go down 30 CS in 10 minutes, right? So for sure, I'd like to see him be consistent. I think he was incredibly good on like champions like the Nico, so maybe looking for stuff like the Xin Nico, right? Yeah,
he's a very good playmaker, I would say. As you said, Laure suffered a bit in lane as well, but it will be interesting to see against Larssen, where I think Larssen is a very good laner. On these mages, he often gets CS leads. It's just kind of the impact on the map that's missing from Rogue. I think they have 5 players, which in theory are all good by themselves, but they're not the greatest at helping their teammates out. So I want to see a comp from Rogue, which is kind of easy to execute, but also has that early game pressure because they can't just draft 3 scaling lanes and hope for best in this matchup against GIANTX.
Nothing too surprising here, Eragon.
No, I wonder if we'll see the standard, you know, LCK kind of thing, where we first pick Maokai, Lucian Milio kind of trade.
Ashe is open as well, which is something they've played in the past as well. That's what I'm looking towards.
Banning the Corki, taking the Azir. This one is personal, Larssen.
Yeah, this is getting Larssen on his other comfort pick, Orianna. Azir first pick.
Yeah,
with
expected
out.
first pick here.
Yeah, that's also completely fine. Ashe is still open, as I said. I think that's a pretty good pickup here. You can pick Ashe early and then flex it both AD carry and support and hold the other role until R5.
Vi is up as well. You know, you could do an AD carry, Ashe, Vi kind of combination. Ashe, Rell as well, or the LeBlanc into the Azir, something we've seen pop up in the eastern regions. Yeah,
I wonder if it will be AD or AP. We saw Caps obviously play AD, and yesterday was played AP, so it'll be interesting to see.
Jackie's found a lot of space on LeBlanc as well. I think there was the whole fiddlestick stop composition,
really well,
and he was tracking the fiddlesticks really well with the champion, and we know that Larssen is really good on it. Rakan.
Comfort pick for Zoelys. I've said this to you as well in the past, Laure. I think that Zoelys kind of sometimes picks Rakan to kind of be a master of all trades, but he's just kind of lacking the early impact. So I would like to see him on something more aggressive, but Rakan is locked in, and obviously now Maokai is still open, as you said, Eragon.
Yeah, they've got to decide here whether or not they secure their AD carry, which has already been pinched, or they counterpick into the Rakan and make sure that support doesn't get pinched as well. So stuff like the Rell works here, or they could just secure their full topside front to back.
Yeah, I mean, full topside is fine because I think there's so many counterpicks into the Rakan. You can play stuff like the Renata, you can play hook champs. Gnar is picked last second here for Odoamne. Also kind of a comfort pick for him, but yeah, there's a lot of counters to Rakan, so I think securing full topside and kind of the comfort there is also completely fine.
And I still feel like if you want to blind top early, Gnar still stays one of the most viable options for this. We haven't seen the champion too much so far, though.
Yeah, not too much. I think it's been popping up recently. I think the big problem with Gnar that he had was that initially people weren't sure if his items were good enough, but this might be a Jayce into a Gnar. It's a famous counter pick. Yeah,
it's a Szygenda classic as well. He loves kind of playing these matchups, which is very aggressive. So it's interesting to see now. It's going to be fun to see what GIANTX is cooking up in the bot lane. As I said, there's a lot of picks into the Rakan. Right now, there's a lot of kind of range from Rogue. They don't have a lot of direct engage. It's only the Rakan so far. So I think GIANTX kind of need to either outrange them or go for the engage. I personally think IgNar is a really good playmaker, so I would like to see him on something like the Blitzcrank or something like the Nautilus. But the Milio is already banned out from Rogue, so They don't want to deal with getting outranged and out-healed.
Yeah, so typically your answers into the Rakan are outranging, right? Or engaging with like Nautilus, champions like this. So pinching the support pool is pretty nice, denying that Lucian Milio type deal. I think Ashe rises up in priority because neither team have their AD carries. Which team would you rather?
I mean, I don't think Comp is looking for the Ashe right now. I think Ashe Rakan is kind of weak and very susceptible to Maokai kind of engaging on them both in early and mid game.
Is it just Xayah? Oh, it's banned. There we go.
Yep, Xayah's gone. So I mean, Comp likes champions like the Jhin, for example. Fits well with Jayce for the long range poke. I don't expect him to pick it there. I expect him to pick jungle on 4-pick here for Rogue and save the AD carry until last, and then maybe he cooks up something like the Jhin. As for jungle, there's a lot of champs still open. Xin Zhao is banned, obviously. Maokai is picked away, so there's still Jarvan, there's still Vi, obviously. That's kind of the premier picks here. Sejuani is also another champ, which is pretty good in this situation.
Yeah. Typically, you also want to pair off LeBlanc with stuff that you can use the setup for. Stuff like Larssen, right, is an old school combo, but I don't think this is going to be the angle. You want AD mids that you can play through when it comes to Lilia.
Yeah. Rell is always fine.
Makes more sense, yeah.
Rell can kind of do everything. Solid early game, like good level 3 ganks, good grub take, kind of an all-around well-designed champ and well-rounded champ.
Denying the Jinx from Comp? I like it. I was wondering if they would go for the classic Draven plus something.
I would like to see some engage from GIANTX because they're kind of a slow comp right now. It's only Maokai that has pressure. So something like the Alistar is completely fine into Rakan. You're not really abusing it in lane, but you can at least roam and kind of match other lanes.
I really like the Jhin with the Maokai because it gives you a lot of follow-up, right? With that range, you can always throw on the W onto saplings and catch people off guard with the snare, so that could give some options for the engage like you're talking about.
The Jhin would be an angle for sure. Not the greatest pairing with the Alistar here. I think Comp wants the Jhin more than Patrik in this situation. Patrik has a pretty deep champion pool, so something like the Draven could just be picked for lane dominance here. Ashe is still open and very strong, so...
And I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, some more CC in the Comp, always nice. I would be pretty surprised if we don't see Jhin picked here for Comp.
Yeah.
Just playing 2 screens away, never letting the Alistar combo you.
I don't see Lucian working on a standalone pick here with the options that are bad.
Ooh.
Nilla.
Looks like a pretty tricky Nilla game,
we
though.
knew Patrik Nilla, but yeah, it doesn't seem like the best angle for Nilla pick when you have Alistar.
Okay, little Ziggs.
Zeri, that's a throwback.
That is a throwback.
Wait a minute, I think it's the
champ.
first Zeri we have. It has to be the first one we have this year in Europe, of course. When you look at the two composition here, how do you think they're going to play into each other? We said that we should focus on the early game and Rogue should follow the pace, I think that GIANTX is going to set, but what do you expect here?
I mean, I think that Rogue early game bot lane is very scaling. I think mid lane also doesn't have a lot of kill pressure. Most of the focus will be on top lane, I think, for this early game. I think whoever kind of gets the advantage on top will have a natural advantage in the game. I expect bot lane to be kind of farming and chilling. Same for mid lane. Larssen, after he gets level 6, can also roam and help out his bot lane, so most of the focus on top lane for the early game, I would say. Yeah,
absolutely. I think there's potential just to one-shot the Gnar, like in mini Gnar form with that Jayce full hammer form combo. As well as mid lane, you also have a lot of setup. You have the LeBlanc counter pick into the Azir, and later on, you can also play for the side with LeBlanc, because no one can really answer it.
Well, reminder here, a win will secure GIANTX a spot in the Winter playoffs. Let's see if they can pull it off, or if Rogue gets to fight another day.
Thank you, Laure. I'm Drakos, joined by Vedius for this first and incredibly important game. We'll kick off the day. You heard it from Laure. This is it. This is essentially the do or die matchup. If Rogue are able to win here, we will see a tailbreaker later in the day. If GIANTX are able to win, well, then they're just through. Cut and dry, nice and simple, no tiebreakers. It'll be battles for seeding for the rest of the day.
So let's hope we get some bangers. You had some great games yesterday.
That's right. Some great long games that I really loved casting for 50 minutes. It was great. No, but actually those games were fantastic. I hope we get more here. Gonna have to find out as we get into game 1. Load on to Summoner's Rift. Rogue, gotta say, call out right away. This composition, very different from what we've seen in yesterday's game. Yesterday was a lot of scaling. Is Peach walking up here? It's gonna be forced flash safety. Nice use of the chains. Rakan. Dash in, going right back out. So flash for flash. Peach for Zoelys' flash.
Yeah, I really think Zoelys overestimated how much damage they had there.
Get hype in the moment,
The moment that the chain connected, I understand why Peach got a little bit worried. So his flash makes sense to me, but then Zoelys was like, you know what, no. Well, I mean, the reason why he flashed was because he committed to the play and then realized, hang on a second, there's no follow-up here. So either way, exchange of flashes. Perhaps Rogue can look to try and take advantage of this. Rell, not the best counter jungler.
Yeah, that's kind of the tough thing, right? If there's a Zen on the other team, you're kind of scared for Peach, but bit of a slow fight here overall if they do find each other in the jungle. We'll see, though, if inversely, if GIANTX are able to punish Zoelys on the bottom side. Now that he is flashed, so this might limit some of his engage, but level 1 you still expect to favor the Rakan as there's some aggressive trading in mid lane. LeBlanc for Larssen with Electrocute. Don't think we're seeing a Voltaic Cyclo Sword here. I like that we're getting more AP LeBlanc coming through.
I mean, 2020... What year are we? 2024? 2020? It was 2022 Worlds in New York.
All right. Back to the Future.
Rogue...
What year are we?
Yeah. Was it 2020? I'm sure it was 2020. Were we in New York in 2022? We were, right?
Yeah.
That was the one where Rogue had a nail-biter of a game against Top Esports, where we actually got to see Larssen's LeBlanc come out, and he was popping off. Probably the best LeBlanc game I've ever seen from Larssen. So I'm excited to see him back on it again. I hope that we get to see that same level of performance. But yeah, traditionally you associate Larssen with these control mages. Orianna, Azir, used to be a big-time Victor player as well.
Definitely a big-time Corki player in the current meta. As Markoon rounding into mid lane here, in the brush.
Jackie's.
Oh, he does place the ward. The sidestep! Jackie's is clean with it, but surely they've got enough damage to just finish off the kill here. Hail of Blades comes out. It was not clean, but it was successful, and that's all that matters in a do-or-die game. Szygenda and Odoamne continuing to trade top, but a solid first blood for Rogue.
I mean, Jackie's played about as well as he could there. Really nice back and forth sidestepping. But yeah, face check in the brush. I thought that he was just going to die then and there.
We'll kind of keep you updated as we have more information on the old pause. An opportunity to take a break as we sort through what happened there. It is a live show, so unfortunately we won't be able to roll back that gank and redo it so it looks better. But again, they got the kill, and that's what matters.
I mean, it was unfortunate. I can't double check what skills Larssen had, and I don't remember if he used his W or his Q. I'm pretty sure he took W, but he already started with his E.
Yeah, we know E was there. E was a part of the equation.
He needed to make sure that he landed it, and the easy setup there is that, I mean, the beauty of ganking a LeBlanc is she either lands chains, which then makes it easier for the follow-up from the jungler, or the jungler has CC, which then guarantees the chains, right?
Yeah, I really love that they gave an assassin a way to assist in ganks. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Are there any other ones that do that?
Yeah, Ari.
Yeah. Silas. Yeah. All those champions have been historically very
balanced. That's usually why you'll always hear like, oh yeah, Lee Sin, Jarvan, Viego, they're all really good with Ari, LeBlanc, things that can just set up the gank for you. But yeah, Larssen does find first blood. Great way to start a game on a LeBlanc, already with a 400 gold lead. This is something that we needed to see from Rogue in this game. I think that with their composition, when you want to try and take advantage more of these side lanes.
I have an update on the pause.
Oh, yeah.
It was an issue with Markoon's keyboard. It has been resolved. We've gotten back into game. Or we are getting back into game. We haven't gotten there yet, I swear. You may notice that Peach doesn't have his hands on the keyboard, so it would be concerning if we were already in game. Now we are heading back into game. Was a small keyboard issue. Wasn't his hands, folks. Keyboard related. Not sure exactly what happened there, but again, they got the gank. So it does not matter. IgNar hovering around
imagine if that was the tech. You have a play that goes so horrendous, like a dive goes really bad, and like,
keyboard.
Like keyboard issue.
Fast track to make sure your team never gets a peripheral sponsor ever.
Just for record, that is not what happened here.
Yeah. Is a keyboard issue resolved? Help of our wonderful staff on stage there. Larssen just continues to trade. Again, he hasn't spent his money yet, but he still has TP, so every trade he makes here is going to feel good because he can just back and come back to lane full health.
Yep. It's a great position to be in when you're not forced to back early. Obviously, he doesn't have any health pots right now, but neither does Jackie's, which is why the best thing he can do is actually get as many trades as possible. So as you rightly said, he can go back to base, TP back into lane, and then he'll be fully stocked and ready to go.
Excellent situation as Peach hovering in the jungle here. Again, this is not a 1v1 in the jungle where you expect a lot of kill pressure from either side. It's going to be a lot more about who can hit camps better, who can smite these away. Peach currently with an XP advantage. Markoon did use a lot of time going for that mid lane gank. Peach will now start the objective. Larssen first on the roam over. Peach likely to just have to concede the camp here. Try to contest with smite. Peach no flash from before as well. What is he doing? He's got no business being there. He knows Larssen is free to maneuver.
That was a mistake. nothing really. Can't chalk that one up to a keyboard, my friend.
I'm wondering if they didn't see Larssen TP back to lane.
In his head, maybe he thinks that IgNar's calming and he's on his way, but then as he's on his way, Zoelys is also interfering from the bot side of the map, but maybe he underestimated the damage. Markoon doing the wraparound, looking for another gank. But I mean, yeah, fair play. Well done from Larssen and Markoon.
Punish Peach's lack of flash.
Yep.
That's great. This is great textbook early game League of Legends. I like what
you
we're
need to be doing with the LeBlanc. Yeah, really leverage that early power. Level 5 now for Larssen. Already the Hextech alternator picked up, giving him a decent amount of early game damage.
Yeah, Larssen in position now to take over the game, especially with the red buff. Can harass, has a bit of extra sustain in lane as well, obviously.
That is nice.
Set up to take over. We'll see what he can do. Jackie's wandering up first because he does have push.
I'm surprised they're allowed to do this, because I feel like the Larssen could have just wandered over. His wave is in a fine spot, bit of a freeze.
Bot lane pushed in and IgNar reset, so I'm thinking that they have assumed that IgNar's in the area.
Yeah, very likely.
IgNar is now in mid lane, so it was the right call maybe not to overcommit on the play at the very least. And I feel like with Void Grove's video, I don't know what your read is so far on what we've seen in pro play, is like as long as you can be there for the second spawn to make sure someone doesn't get 5 or 6, you don't really care. They're not super impactful.
I think that it's fine to just give up the Void Groves. I think they're a nice thing to have.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they're so game-breaking. It's the same thing as like giving him the Drake, right? It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
But in an ideal world, Rogue would have loved to have forced out the Drake. Unfortunately, they were not able to do so. So Giants, they do find themselves at a bit of a goal deficit. A lot of that's sitting on the mid laner right now. Larssen in a very comfortable position. Really going to accelerate this LeBlanc in the game. Heading into that mid game is where AP LeBlanc is exceptionally powerful. Later on into the game, she becomes harder to play because when people are stacked up, grouped up, when there's a lot more resistances, it's harder to play that sort of like, I can just go in you whenever you want. Instead, you become this like poke mage where you kind of sit in the fog of war, you'll dash over the wall, try and chunk someone out and then dash back. And it becomes a little bit harder to become that assassin unless you can kind of take advantage of chaotic fights in the late game. But I'm really excited to see, we already talked about Larssen back on the champion since Worlds.
Zoelys cut out there a bit. Patrik just laying down the slow. Peach coming in from behind. You saw the Raptors stole a moment ago. And for now, quiet on the bottom side, just fighting over the control ward. Markoon feeling confident to start that one up. Zoelys now caught out. Excellent chains you see thus far. Knockback to deny the battle dance out to safety. Clean play from GIANTX. Zoelys overconfident.
Oh, very quick to punish that play. Like the engage from him. Flashes in, gets the knock up, able to get the knockback as a result. And at the very least, GIANTX are back on the board, but Larssen with this pressure in mid lane, chipping away the HP power of Jackie's.
I mean, it's 7.5 minutes and he has a 1.1k individual gold lead. That's a solo queue terror LeBlanc right there.
Good news for Rogue though is that they're going to start this dragon off because the reset is going to come through from Peach. Big opportunity to get their first objective on the map. Jackie's delayed his back, does have the TP, but Larssen really nice. Won't connect the chains. Nice slide there from Jackie's to avoid that. Still though, getting chipped away at, doesn't have any HP bots, so every time Larssen gets these trades, it just adds to the kill pressure in mid.
Yeah, crucially, just holding prio there, making it so easy for Markoon to start that objective. They lost the kill on bottom side. Zoelys respawns, comes back, and still Rogue are able to hold on to pressure, take that Drake. You know, yes, they gave up grubs on the top side of the map, but I don't think it matters too much. Comp is sitting pretty in this lane. And while Zeri has been hit across so many different patches, still a late game terror if she's allowed to thrive. And I think an Ashe and an Azir are going to struggle to lock that champion down, especially when they also have to worry about a very fed LeBlanc.
I'd really love to see Rogue actually use this pressure in mid-top. I think that the best situation for their composition is to unlock the Jayce and the LeBlanc so that they can be this multi-side lane threat and you can play on multiple points of pressure. Right now, Szygenda has a very small advantage. We heard the devs talking about how the good old days used to be a pretty good answer into the Gnar. And Szygenda doing his best to take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I loved Jayce when Eclipse used to give kind of the Omni Vamp. It just felt like you had an item that did everything for you. As a first item spike, let you get over that tier. Now, obviously, the Thauti is much stronger early, which Szygenda can try and put to good use, but the lack of reliable sustain items can make some of these extended laning phases a bit harder. But as you can see from both health bars, neither one particularly interested playing the PvP game, mostly just focusing on wave control there.
Markoon on the hunt once again. Has his eyes on mid. Jackie's is a little low. Going to be spotted out by the sapling though. But Jackie's going to be forced to back off this tower.
Chain connects.
Larssen
Peach right there. Larssen bringing a Maokai all the way back. Ulti coming in as well. Larssen dashing to safety. Nice interrupt on the dash coming from Peach. Slowly but surely walking him down. Can he get away from the tree? The answer should be yes or no. That's a shutdown. Cooldown coming up just in time.
That was a really nice play from Peach. He's able to get the follow-up W, but then he ults immediately, saving onto his Q until later on. Even though Larssen flashes away, the smite applying the slow means that Peach can just catch up and secure himself a kill. Nice shutdown.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, you'd love to hand that over to Jackie's.
Which I think was the setup they were going for, but Peach...
But hey, if you can get a kill, you can get a kill. Now you guarantee yourself the grub.
Oh, Markoon now coming in.
Is it guaranteed?
Just need one more grub. They get the 5 grub buff. 5 guys, not gonna happen. Markoon looking for the engage instead. Zoelys now ready to follow up. Instantly, 2 members taken down. Massive burst coming in from Jayce. The follow-up there as Comp comes over the wall. Instant ulti. Rogue dominate the top side exchange, and they're getting the grubs as well.
Rogue is looking to make that tiebreaker happen. Larssen back out onto the map very quickly, use the TP, and they're able to contest these grubs. They get 2 for themselves, deny the 5. But nice engage there from Rogue. I thought it was going to be uncontested. GIANTX not quite having the numbers or the damage really to go for that fight, and Larssen ends up picking up another kill off the back of that exchange.
Yeah. And I think the thing that GIANTX have to be kind of nervous about is that Rogue's comp snowballs so well, especially in these skirmishes. If they get a lead, if they start a fight off favorably, they delete your entire composition before GIANTX can really set up any lines of scrimmage. You see here the instant engage, Jayce burst follow-up, LeBlanc double dash. There's nothing you can do.
IgNar was a little isolated. I'm surprised that he didn't Hex Flash over the wall. I thought that they would try and go for the Rell that was trapped inside the pit, but I guess they realized the collapse was coming through. They immediately tried to disengage, and that ended up being their undoing. 5 kills now in favor of Rogue. Setting up for the Dragon, spawning in about 1:20.
And Vedi, do you remember when you said that like LeBlanc gets harder to play in later games? You know, people get more damage, you have to be more cautious and safe.
Yeah.
I don't know if that applies when you're 1.5k ahead individually.
No, it doesn't at this point. No. Like
he just jumps in.
When I say later into the game, I don't mean like 15 minutes. That's
well,
when LeBlanc's playground. You know? She's like...
I'm just saying that in a world where Azir actually has 1.5 items, maybe she has to be scared already. But right now she just runs in. She decides, okay, do I want this chain to complete? Do I not? She takes her time. Arrow so close. Which again, stays cool, stays calm, stays collected, will back away.
This is the enigma of Rogue, man. Like, you think you've got this
and
impression
then they
of them,
play
and then
G2 and they win.
Yeah.
They lose a bunch of games in not very exciting fashion, and then they show up against GX when it matters most.
Yep. It's Rogue time, baby.
Yeah, but what time is Rogue time? I'm trying to figure it out.
We're still trying to figure that out. But if I understand this correctly, if they win, they will need to play another game against GIANTX later.
Last slot, end of the day. So both teams are going to be here all day. It's going to be intense. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be watching other teams play, but knowing you need to focus on the match ahead of you, it's a lot of pressure.
It's going to be a tough day for sure.
And it's good that they have the luxury to play their game first and to know and to just have that answer, have that finality. But I imagine.
But also, it's just remember that GIANTX is the culmination of the Giants organization and XL.
Yeah.
XL was the organization last year, 10th.
Then Miracle Run,
and then
all the way to the top.
Summer into 2nd place, yeah. But Odoamne doesn't want to be bottom 2 again. He'd really like to just get into the top 8, play some best of 3s. He's not ready to go on holiday.
Knocked back there. Excellent root, good setup, nice flashback. Szygenda living for a little bit of time here, but the ulti from IgNar just making him unkillable, making sure they can tank that tower and finish the job.
And GIANTX are definitely not out of this game just yet. Obviously, they find themselves in a very difficult position right now. But they just need to keep finding these picks, finding what gold they can. Because when we get to the late game fights, that is where I think GIANTX's comp can really shine. They have great range, they have great pick potential, they have a great front to back, and they can make it really difficult if they can force Rogue to group.
Yeah.
GIANTX is going to be in a good position, but that's kind of where the dance comes in this early game. With the lead that Rogue have, they kind of get to force Giant to play to their tune.
Absolutely do. And I think based on what we saw in the Mad Lions Koi game yesterday, GIANTX, when they have a win condition that they can play towards, are very disciplined. They were disciplined against the fiddle. They did not give those angles of attack. Yes, they slipped up once or twice, but for the most part, very clean around respecting what the opposing composition can do. And they're gonna need to do the same thing here because, especially if if Rogue rather are able to knock down this tier 1 tower, set up more deep vision in GIANTX's jungle. I mean, if you thought Larssen was scary already, he gets 5 times scarier when he can just sit in Fog of War and threaten to one-shot anybody.
Oh, for sure. Odoamne going for a bit of a nice trade. IgNar on the roam, as we often know him for, whether it be in NA or EU. His style remains very much the way of IgNar.
You know, I think this is the first Infernal Rift I've seen all week in my games. Really? I've cast 8 of the 10 games that have happened so far. I did not see a single Infernal Rift yesterday.
I don't remember, man. Dragons are not something I keep track of. That's a very LCK
normally
thing.
Normally I don't. I know. I shout out to Atlas, by the way, while we're here. But it's the Cinders. The Cinders are the only reason I can remember that the Infernal Rift happens. It's the first time I've seen them all weekend.
How very Dark Souls of you.
Yeah, true.
Jackie's getting chunked very low. Peach here to try and cover. And he kind of has to because of the damage coming out from Larssen. But the pressure is on. Top side of the map fully in control of Rogue. Bot side of the map going well for GIANTX. Odoamne really starting to find his footing. Even though he finds himself a bit behind in gold, the only gold advantage that GIANTX really have right now is in Peach.
Nice bit of move speed. Odoamne just want to commit for the play here.
IgNar is just hovering. He is making Szygenda's life miserable. Zoelys has arrived to alleviate some of that pressure, but the health disparity is very significant.
Yeah, Odoamne can just walk up and take this tower. Doesn't really have to worry about too much. Szygenda can't afford to stick around. You'd have to completely outplay to come out alive in that scenario, and when there's an Alistar there, you know, he can point and click you. There's not a lot of room to outplay as Larssen just continues to harass. Again, Larssen's still, I think, one of the strongest points on the map. This 1-3-1 you would expect over time to favor Rogue pretty heavily. And while in the bottom lane, Odoamne is doing well, the actual bottom lane for GIANTX is still a little bit behind here. 900 gold, definitely not insignificant.
I mean, Patrick's nearly 2 levels down.
Yeah.
You can see the little pink bars on the icons on your screen. That indicates, next to the champion portraits, I should say, the XP of the champ. And there you go, Comp going to tick over to level 11 while Patrick's still sitting at level 9. And I praised IgNar for his robes. Zoelys has to have left Comp pretty much isolated for him to have this kind of experience advantage.
I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, the support experience is pretty comparable, right?
Right.
Even a tiny bit more for IgNar, yes, which accounts for some of it, but when you look obviously at the left side of your screen, you can see Patrik pretty far behind, which means that maybe some of the lane assignment's not great or that he's been forced to recall on unoptimal wave states. Definitely difficult as it results in both an XP and steadily growing gold difference between the two players.
I love how Rogue is just playing the map right now. They're using Larssen as the point of pressure. They move him to top lane. They provide support with vision. They move to bot lane. Now look at all this vision that's set up. They have full control over their own bot side jungle, making sure there's no potential flanks. They make sure they have information on the river. And then also you have Markoon just shadowing, hovering around that side of the map, making sure that Larssen feels safe, feels secure, to keep that pressure up and to keep threatening these towers. He's looking to secure another outer tower and also sets them up very nicely for the dragon, spawning in about a minute's time. This wave, Jackie's, the thing about showing on a ward there is it's all about the pressure. Markoon is here, Jackie's knows that his jungler is not. He is forced to back off, another objective secured. So Rogue playing a very patient style, but playing around their point of strength very, very well. And it looks like Larssen's just going to go for a death cap segment.
And you got to respect it. A lot of squishy members on the opposite side. Odoamne going for some laning-focused items in the Trinity Force, so also won't be super tanky here. Herald will get used on the bottom side, and Rogue are in absolute control of this game. Really hard for GIANTX to respond. They're trying to put more resources on the bottom side, looking for an angle, looking for a response here as Odoamne knocks down the top lane tower, just making sure the tier 2 doesn't drop. But Jackie's is incredibly low. Only 19 seconds left for the Infernal. Maokai going out, not quite going to catch Larssen, but they will get the flash before the fight. That could be big, but GIANTX don't really have an angle to approach the pit from.
Using that ultimate this early means that, as you rightly said, it's going to be that much harder to force your way into the river. Odoamne is here, trying to clear out some of this vision. GIANTX do not want to concede this objective. This is the 3rd dragon of the game.
Another wave coming in mid. If they lose this fight, they're going to lose mid lane as well.
Oh no, he does! He actually picks up the death cap.
That is an 18-minute death cap. Almost 19.
Well, now this is really important how Rogue play the fight. If you just play a front to back, I find that GIANTX have the advantage.
Keep your eyes on Odo. Arrow not going to connect as big, but it forces the team back. But GIANTX aren't doing a lot of damage to the objective here. They're not really focusing on the dragon. Larssen coming over the wall, looking for a bit of poke, hitting onto Odoamne, maybe not the ideal target. Chains are going to connect. Zoelys instantly locked up. Odoamne there to fire back and follow as Comp gets taken down. Combo v combo. GIANTX are just coming out on top. They drafted for the team fight, and they'll come out ahead in the exchange. Triple kill for Odoamne.
If you're just going to play a front to back, then GIANTX is going to have your number every time. They play that fight to perfection. Another great engage from IgNar, catches Zoelys out, and then it just becomes a chase down. Odo with a good two-man ultimate, the Azir wall to come in. What did Larssen do in that whole fight? He was just a spectator as GIANTX find themselves firmly back in this game.
He's got a 2K lead. He's all of the lead, and now the lead is falling away. Look at the top side for GIANTX, instantly back in this game. So far ahead on the back of Odoamne's triple there. Well, I'm sure we'll get a look at the fight again. Just well played to punish.
Yeah, just keep your eyes on what Larssen is trying to do here, because remember, he's the gold. He's now looking for a flank. He's going to try and come in over the wall, but Zoelys gets caught out, gets engaged on by IgNar. Great use of the fog of war. But now it's a literal front to back. The LeBlanc is forced out to the back line. Odo is acting as the front line. The engage comes in from Rell, but it doesn't matter. The CC into the wall, onto the Zeri means that she doesn't get to do any damage. And GIANTX are doing exactly what they need to, playing behind that wall that they have in front of them. Patrik did lose his life, but that's a worthwhile exchange to get the team fight victory.
The flash ult to follow Zoelys that also clipped Comp and knocked him into the wall was game-defining there from Odo. You said it earlier, this is not a man who wants to spend another year at the bottom of the standings. Clearly keen to fight his way back to the top, and for the side of Rogue, I mean, you can't afford slip-ups like that. You also didn't need to fight for that Drake if you didn't feel like you could take the fight.
Well, I mean, I was concerned earlier because Peach did use his ultimate to...
Arrow connecting on Szygenda. Szygenda, I don't know if he's making it out of that one. Another Gnar into the wall. Larssen just watching his top laner die.
A very nice setup from Odoamne and Patrik. Beautifully spacing out his CC as well. Did you notice he didn't throw him into the wall until that CC duration was just near the end?
I can tell you play MMOs. You appreciate it. You know, you've ever played a WoW arena and someone tries to layer CC, you're never playing with that person
I hate that. You know, when
you time it right.
That was nicely done from Odo. Trying to maximize his damage, able to get the kill. Haven't quite gotten the gold lead yet. We look at mid, we look at bot. Rogue still have those advantages, but ultimately this is going to come down to execution, and we think back to that fight from earlier. What Rogue needed to do was to make it harder for GIANTX to enter the river, utilize some of the strength of LeBlanc, leveraging Fog of War, jumping out, picking away, dancing back in. You want to chip away at your opponents before giving them the opportunity to actually start that fight. But they conceded too much control. They're trying to play this too much in a traditional front-to-back, and I think the GIANTX's comp is just going to keep giving them the advantage.
And I think it is hard to completely control space against GIANTX's comp. Again, they have the Maokai, they have saplings, they have the Ashe hawk shots. There's so many ways to get vision and to create space. But that fight was started with an Ashe arrow that didn't connect, and before that, the Maokai ult was used. So GIANTX, by all means, were down in terms of effective resources and still came out ahead in the fight. So for Rogue, I'm hoping they can show us more on the side lanes. I'm hoping they can find some of these picks on an overextending member, because if they want to come back to the game, the 5v5 is a very tough way to do it.
Let's look back at exactly how Odoamne is able to get this kill. Of course, the arrow connects initially.
Does Odoamne deserve any credit for this? That's my question.
Q.
Because
nicely done.
That was a practice tool Gnar combo right there. That was a stunned target. Like, that arrow was all... I'm just saying...
That's going to be in our little mechanics videos.
Patrik gets all of the credit for that, just for the record.
I mean, if you look at the damage distribution, I think the DPS needs
okay, all right, bud.
Odo, bro.
All right, man. Again,
well,
tell me
Odo
you play
could be
DPS.
in danger.
Should be in trouble now. There's not a lot of ways for him to get out of this. If he can live until mini, maybe he can get away, but the ulti already out for Markoon. Follow-up is there, a lot of ults consumed, but this is the picks we were talking about. Odo is tanky, but not nearly tanky enough. Nice shutdown on the side lane from Rogue.
Really good punish from Rogue. Finding these picks on the side is definitely what they need to maintain that gold lead, get a bit more gold back towards Szygenda. They are going to leave this mid-tower exposed. The wave clear not the strongest from Rogue. But you know, you mentioned something that I didn't really think of. Patrik, his ability to gain vision is so valuable. Hang on.
Back. Larssen. Root already connecting, but Larssen's just going to die here. Dash, trying to get past the creeps. One more on him, not quite enough to finish the job, but the entire team ready to chase. Jackie's not about to let him get away. Szygenda on the back line, though. Keep your eyes on that Jayce. The burst damage is there, but the tower is up. Crucially, Azir passive, getting so much room for GIANTX to just back off.
I mean, I respect Patrik for flashing over that wall there. He really wanted that kill. They did not want to let Larssen get away. This is going to be a Baron Rush. Remember that Markoon is still alive. There's no vision around the pit.
Azir and Ashe take this very quickly.
But Zoelys has no wards. They have one control ward on Markoon.
They're going to see it now. Szygenda's there. They're kind of sitting ducks in terms of Jayce poke, but the first shot blast not going to do much. Comp as well. GIANTX has to be careful. Odoamne, Mega is there. Not going to connect with the ulti, though, and that's going to be big. Szygenda untouched for now, just trying to chip away at Odoamne, but the Baron's already down. GIANTX disciplined, immediately back away.
Wow. I mean, great play from GIANTX there. In my head, I was thinking, oh, they're in an awkward spot for Dragon now because they're forced to reset, whereas Rogue, they're going to have Larssen coming back out onto the map and they should be able to gain access to the bot river. And Giant said, you're right, we won't be able to contest that Dragon, so let's not bother. Let's go straight for the Baron. And that's exactly what they do. Good utilization of the TP. They're still trying to contest this, but they're unlikely to get it. But a nice objective game for them. The good news for Rogue is they find themselves on Soul Point now. So we'll see if they can still turn this game around. But we're seeing how harder and harder it's going to become. Look at this itemization for Peach now. That front line is only getting tankier. IgNar still acting as a nuisance for this LeBlanc.
Yeah. And I think now that GIANTX have a lead and can start to push out with this Baron buff, it gets so much harder for Larssen. He wants the enemy team split up. He wants to try to find picks on isolated members. Because again, if they're grouped, it's not like LeBlanc doesn't do damage, it's just there's so much immediate, reliable CC on the GIANTX composition that you're not getting out unscathed.
I mean, she's also she's single target. She does damage to one person, right? There are combos where you can do like distortion into mimic distortion,
yeah.
right? But even then, like, that's not the same damage that she was doing earlier, right?
Nope.
The spell shield picked up for Jackie's. Really good investment because that's already going to mitigate the combo so much. And Larssen's threat is just disappearing. That 1.8k gold lead that he has feels largely meaningless.
Arrow connected from Patrik. IgNar just walking forward, kind of stutter stepping there, threatening the headbutt pull, but not going to commit too much for it.
And GIANTX are just doing a good job of staying grouped. They're not allowing for Larssen to find a pick, find a flank. They're doing a good job of controlling the vision. You mentioned it, that yesterday they were doing a good job of keeping track of Merwin's fiddlesticks, not allowing him to find those flanks. I wonder if it's a psychology of IgNar, the man often looking for flanks himself, where he's like, we're going to get flanked here.
To become the flanker, to know the flanker, you must become the flanker.
If I was fiddlesticks, what would I do?
He's probably just sad he can't play fiddlesticks, to be honest.
Well, that does sound like an IgNar champion.
I mean, and the other thing, too, is that this composition, unlike yesterday's composition, it's really easy to spot flanks. Again, you have so much free vision between Ashe and Maokai.
Triple blue trinket.
Yeah. Before you get to the champions, you already got triple blue trinket ready to go.
So, yeah, they're fully prepared. They know exactly how Rogue want to play this, and they are not allowing them. And it feels like this is Giants' games to lose now.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, the gold is still close. The dragons are advantage to Rogue. Infernal Soul could be a big difference maker, but when you look at compositions, when you look at how easy it is for GIANTX to get work done, that's kind of why we're giving them the edge at this stage of the game.
Now the siege begins. They've stacked up as 5 topside. They have the Maokai ultimate to zone them away.
Ulti gonna hit 3.
Trying to chip away at this tower. Ashe doing what she can. Nice poke onto Markoon.
Larssen stepping up, stepping right back.
The problem with overstacking on one side of the map is it means that the opposition can do the same. And usually in a 5v5, the one with the tower has the greater wave clear.
Sure.
But slowly but surely they are chipping away, but it's not quite enough. So GIANTX wasting a little bit of time here. They wanted to get the last bit of their Baron to do some damage, and they will get it, but they really need to actually pressure out these waves. Bot wave is in a bit of an awkward spot. They need to go and catch that. Ideally, they want to catch mid as well. So GIANTX is going to do the smart thing. They're going to back away. They're not going to overstay their welcome and give Rogue an opportunity to find a pick and make their way back into the game.
And again, I think it's an indicator that GIANTX, are continuing to respect what Larssen brings to the table. It is still a 2k gold lead. He's got Magic Pen now in the mix. He is still a big threat. If they do split up, if they try to play multiple lanes, I think they're much more at risk of dying in pursuit of a Baron push. So recognizing his power, but I'm kind of just waiting to see when does Larssen get that pop-off moment. He's got all the tools he needs to do so. Flash is about to come up off cooldown. Is he going to be able to find an angle to put this gold lead to use? Because if not, we kind of seen what happens in the team fight.
That's a great question. Dragon spawning in a minute 15. That'll likely be what determines it. Because Baron's going to be straight after, so you can win that fight, immediately translate over towards that objective.
No. I mean, the good
Soul
news...
Point as well.
Yeah, Soul Point. I think the good news for Rogue is if they have any access to the pit, whenever they flip a dragon, it's a much better gamble for them than it ever will be for GIANTX, in the sense that their next dragon gives them soul. If they lose a 50-50 to GIANTX and don't, you know, get aced in a follow-up fight, it's whatever. It's one more Infernal Drake. It's not super consequential. So we'll see if they're gonna invest resources to contest that. For now, Zoelys setting up a little bit of vision around the pit as GIANTX reset, refresh those wards, and get back out on the map.
Well, this is likely going to be the decider. 30 seconds. We're either getting a tiebreaker, or GIANTX will lock in a spot. The ultimate threat for Peach, flash in.
Full commit, just trying to zone Larssen away. The arrow now coming in, will hit Markoon, but he manages to buffer on the W.
It's a lot invested.
Won't make it out to safety. They are full committing for this. IgNar off on the side, but GIANTX just death-balling forward. Peach already losing half his health, though. This is not the fight that they wanted. Szygenda's going to pick up a quick kill. Peach now taken out, but traded back as Odoamne just continues to run in. GIANTX bullying. It's aggressive, it's a little bit crazy, but it works.
I mean, the problem is they've lost their jungler. Markoon is still alive.
They should not try to take the objective. And you can see they're not. They want the fight. They know they have to keep killing members. Jackie's going in. Zoelys taken out by Odoamne. They're turning their sights back on the dragon. Markoon has to find a way to access the pit here if he wants to go for the 50-50.
He's not going to be allowed it. IgNar acting as zone control. Going to make sure that Markoon stays well away. Dragon secured. Honestly, an overcommittal. That was a force that could have cost GIANTX a lot, but they make it work. They find 2 kills, they get the dragon, and the Baron is up. 3 seconds until Peach is back out on the map.
No, results-based analysis, it's always the right call to throw your ult, and if it doesn't connect, keep running at them. Clearly.
Peach flashed in onto Markoon.
Yep. And it worked, so it was the right call. That's how we do things here. Markoon flashing out, that's big. If they take the blast cone as well, Markoon's going to struggle to get into the pit. We'll only have the W now, but IgNar chunked out. Has ulti, but I think might want the opportunity to reset.
It looks like they're going to take it.
Honeyfruit right there, so no. Okay.
They're not going to take it. They're going to go back to base. I wonder how much gold they're sitting on. Because,
I mean, comp is also at 3 items now. Zoelys is going to clear out a bit of vision there. So surely Rogue
look
could
at
fight
this.
back.
This is not a great engage. Larssen is completely untouched on the side. Nice chains from him. They chip away Peach. But the return damage, Jackie's putting his soldiers over the wall and actually zoning Larssen out while he can't trade anything back. That is a great demonstration of the range difference and how difficult these front-to-back fights really are to play for Rogue. They get the flash out from comp as well. It does cost Jackie's his, but I honestly think it's worth it. They're in a great spot. A better one than they already were in. But now the dance for the Baron begins.
Yes, it does. Szygenda 3 items. Comp 3 items, Larssen 3.5. They've got a lot of damage, but it's just so hard to put it on an effective target. Big beefy front line for the side of GIANTX.
There are some potential flanking wards, but no TPs.
They do have a bit of vision on Odoamne walking down. They can now assume that the Baron has been started. They'll probably see him toss a boomerang. No, they don't. So they don't really have good information here.
They have
objective
no
about to knock down.
No knowledge.
They've got 0 knowledge. The objective goes down, and Markoon jumps in just in time to watch the Baron die. Markoon just going to get deleted. Highly questionable sequence there.
Okay. All right, well, they completely flipped it with no vision. It was Patrik that ended up securing the Baron. GIANTX now have a Nexus in their eyes. They want to lock in top 8. This will be the end of the Winter Split for Rogue.
And tragically, in a game that started so good for them, with such a massive lead in the mid lane, just unable to convert, and GIANTX punishing them for overcommitting. It was the bot side fight around Dragon where GIANTX kind of wrestled control back from Rogue, and they have not given it back since.
Odoamne does not want to be in the bottom 2 again. 6-1 and 3 on the Gnar. But overall, just a great team effort.
Yeah.
I think the Peach's engages, while overzealous at times, have been fantastic.
You can't. That man's got the DMX blaring his headphones. Knock, knock, open up the door. It's real. But he's just running forward, full speed, phase rush.
You got that funk on full blast.
And he's got the drifting playlist going. Yeah. Look, it worked. And, you know, in a game like this, that's kind of all that matters. They can review later and go, hey, man, I don't know about this one. And he just goes, are we top 8 or are we not top 8?
Yeah.
You know?
And credit to IgNar. He's found some great engages as well. So we haven't talked much about Jackie's or Patrik, but obviously they are the damage.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of a quieter game for them both, right? While their lane opponents have been ahead in gold for the vast majority of the game. But Patrik hitting that arrow in bot lane, very big, allowing them to find a lot more of these angles to further snowball Odoamne. They are doing their job very well, but it's just not as flashy as we're seeing from some of the more supporting cast members.
I like what GIANTX are doing here. They're primarily pushing through bot. They're getting control over mid, sweeping out the bot side jungle, and they translate the pressure over to bot because it's that much further away from the top side. Look at that. Double stack on the and with super empowered minions.
Yep, and with the vision kind of cleared out in the jungle, it really stops LeBlanc from finding an angle. She has to stay back, as you see Larssen doing now, and just poke. She can't fish for a flank. There are no TP wards for Rogue to play towards. Step up onto Patrik, though. Huge damage onto the Ashe. He's healing up a little bit off the clone. Now both members going in, but there's no follow-up. Larssen had already burned his combo. Needed to wait for the rotation, but they do not. Markoon just gets shredded, and now all of GIANTX just running forward, ready to end this game, ready to send Rogue packing. GIANTX, first game of the day, taking their time here on the Nexus close. It would take a miracle from Larssen, but they got too much CC, baby. GIANTX, just like that, will deny the tiebreaker, will secure top 8 in the LEC.
Credit to GIANTX. They found the wins that they needed. This weekend was super important for them, and they will lock a spot in top 8. They still have a long journey to go. But credit to them. Unfortunately for Rogue, they will fall short. You can vote for your key player of the games at LEC over on X. Odoamne, Peach, and IgNar, all great choices.
Yep. Personally, Peach. Run forward, fearless. Questionable, yes. Successful, undeniable. Of course, hearts out, former teammates hugging in there on stage. I mean, it's a tough position to be. KC and Rogue now, the two teams that are eliminated. They will get time to recoup. They'll get to readjust, maybe take a break before, you know, putting the nose back to the grindstone and focusing up for the spring split to come. But GIANTX living to fight another day, making it to the next stage. For now, we're going to head to a quick break. When we return, more League of Legends.
Red Bull gives you wings.